Hey, everybody, welcome to a new week. What is your most valuable asset? What is your greatest resource? It is our time. It's our time, right? We all have the same amount of time. It's a fixed amount. You can't add more time to your day. We all have the same 24 hours. And so, this is how God tells us to handle, to wisely steward our time, this valuable asset that he's given us. This is what he says in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15 and 16. He says, "Look carefully how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time." God has given us time. He's given us this precious and valuable asset, and he's told us to be wise with it, to make the best use of it. God wants us to invest our time wisely, invest it in such a way that it'll have tremendous dividends for what truly matters. The context of the Bible, we know that what truly matters to God is honoring God. And so, how can we use our time in ways that bring the most honor to Him? I want to give you three things to think about as you try to use your time in a way that honors God. First, be active in your choices. Be active in your choices. Wake up every day and make a plan for how you spend your time. If you don't wake up with a plan, then someone or something else will set that plan for you. Right? We either can have a plan by design or a plan by default. Our time will be spent. Right? We're not going to save time. We're all going to spend our time throughout the day. The only question is, are we going to let someone else or something else determine how we spend our time, or will we be active in determining how we steward and spend the time that God has given us? We need to start each day with a plan. Right after I wake up and read my Bible, the first thing I do is I review my plan for the day. I want to be intentional in how I'm spending my time, because I know that when I open up my email, I know that when I turn on my phone, like calls, all kinds of things are going to start coming to me. They're going to try to take my time and spend my time in a certain way. And I want to give my time to things that come to me, certainly, but I want to do that within an overall plan of how I want to spend that time for that day. Don't react to the time. No, be active in planning your time. That's number one. Here's the second thing. Get the big rocks in first. Get the big rocks in first. Stephen Covey, who had some Christian principles in this wonderful book, 7 Habits of a Highly Successful Person, he shares this illustration of having, a jar. And what you do is you put the big rocks in first, and then you fill it up with sand, and then you fill it up with gravel, and then you fill it up with water. And he'll say, what's the lesson here? And the wise Alec, student says, oh, it's that you can always cram more in. And his response is, no, it's not that you can cram more in. It's that if I didn't start with the big rocks first, and I started with the water and the pebbles and the stone and the sand and all these other things, if I started with all these little things first, I never would have been able to get the big rocks in. In order to get the big rocks, in order to get the really important things in our life, we have to get them in first. We have to set our priorities straight. And I think a really helpful way to think about setting your priorities is thinking through the roles that God's given you and the responsibilities you have in them. Right? Start every day with a plan based upon what are your roles and what are your responsibilities. So here's the 4 roles I have in my life. First of all, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian before I'm anything else. And so that's my role. My responsibility in that is to build my faith and to grow my relationship with God. That's why I start every day in prayer and in the Bible, because I need to feed my soul. My role as a Christian leads me to the responsibility of feeding my soul, and so I start my time by doing that first. Second, I'm a husband, and close after that, I'm a father, right? I'm a Christian, I'm a husband, and I'm a father. So again, as I'm thinking about my day, I want to think about how am I pursuing being the husband God's called me to be? How can I love, serve, and lead my wife? And then with my children, how can I love, serve, and lead them? So for me, I'm a Christian, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and then finally, I'm a pastor, right? That's like my vocation. And so as I think about my vocation, and this is true for any vocation, I want to think about what is going to make the biggest impact on the most amount of people in my vocation. So in my vocation, what's going to make the biggest impact on the most amount of people. That's how we can determine the best use of our time. We don't want to take little things that have little impact on a little amount. No, we want to take the things that are going to have the biggest impact on the biggest amount. So in order to make the best use of our time, we need to be active in our choices. We need to get our big rocks in first, and we need to constantly evaluate. We need to constantly evaluate. We are by nature creatures of habit, and that can be a really good thing if you're building healthy habits, but also it can be a really bad thing because we begin to do not what's right and best, we begin to do just what we've already done. But what we've already done is not always what is right and best in the moment that we are currently in. And so don't be ruled by habits, be ruled by intention, right? Try to think intentionally every day, what should I be doing today? Don't just do what you did before. No, what is happening now might require something different. And so we need to constantly evaluate what we're doing and how we're using our time. So as an example of that, I've really enjoyed doing these devotionals on a daily basis. But as we get ready for the fall, there's a lot more needs that are going to come up within our church community. That are going to come up just within our neighborhood. And as a leader, I want to position myself to be able to respond to those needs. And I'm really excited about the things and the opportunities that I think God is leading us into. If you're curious about that, tune in on September 13th as we kind of lay out our vision just for the fall of 2020. I'm really excited about the things that God's given us to do. But because of that, I need to constantly evaluate the use of my time. The Lord has seemed to really be blessing these devotionals, and so I don't plan on stopping them. But I think doing them on a daily basis won't give me the time I need to spend in these other things. And so because I'm constantly evaluating with my team and with other people who know me well, who are helping me use my time well, I'm going to actually be going down to doing these 3 times a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday will be the days I'm doing daily devotionals. And having that little bit of breather will help me, first of all, I think, do these devotionals even more effectively. And second, get involved in giving my time to other things that require some more attention. So the point is that we should constantly be evaluating. Don't just do something because it's what you've always done. No, be open to doing new things that God wants you to do. But don't just keep piling new things on. That's a fast way to burnout. No, understand that every time you say yes to something, that means you probably have to say no to something else. We only have a limited amount of time. And so we can't just keep trying to cram things in. No, we need to continually evaluate how we're using the time that God has given us. And so, friends, be a wise investor. Be a wise investor. You have a tremendously valuable asset. You have time. God's given it to you because he wants you to use it in a way that'll bring great investment for his kingdom. So wake up every day and make a plan. Be active in your choices. Get the big rocks in first. Do what's going to have the highest impact first and think through your roles and responsibilities. And constantly evaluate that. Don't just do things by habit. Live by intention. If you do, I think you'll be applying the truth of Ephesians 5, and you'll be living your time wisely with no regrets, but seeing your life invested in a way that makes you rich unto the Lord.